Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope you're all doing well today. Today I've got some creepy cryptid encounters and a Dogman encounter to share with you. Before we get into these encounters, though, a couple links I'd like to share. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merchandise to help this channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. I also have a second channel for creepypasta, fanfiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that really don't fit on this channel. Now, if that's anything that you're into, follow that link and give those stories a listen. You may just like what you hear. I also started a GoFundMe page to help raise some money for urbex, cryptid hunting, and ghost hunting equipment. So far, I have an EVP recorder, an SLS cam, and a couple of trail cams. Right now, I'm working on getting a thermal imaging cam. If that's anything that you're interested in helping with, that link is also in the description below. Also, please give a little listen to the mini commercial that I put at the end of this upload, and the link to Tactical Edge Arms will be in the description below as well. And with that, guys, I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on with these cryptid/Dogman encounters, shall we? Today's first terrifying cryptid encounter. Just a couple of weeks ago, myself and my husband were having an intense argument. I just got sick of the situation. I was tired, angry, and really wanted to be left alone. I grabbed my keys and drove the 17 miles from our home to a nice place I like to park from time to time. Big Bear, Baldwin Lake, California. Now there's a nice sized pull-off at the top of the mountain where quite a few cars can park. The forestry department has it sectioned off with boulders so you don't drive up the hill. You can either hike up the small hill and look out at the scenery, or just sit in your vehicle and enjoy the scenery. As I pulled up, there were two other cars there. A small white car with two people in it about 4 car lengths away, where I parked my mid-sized SUV. Relevant later. And a dark, small pickup further down. I parked, opened my sunroof, and shut off my car. I was so irritated that I didn't even want to listen to music. I just wanted to blow off steam. I lied my seat partially back and was looking at the stars. Here it was, pushing 1 in the morning, and I'm starting to calm myself down. I've been here for about an hour and a half at this point. Suddenly, everything just went dead. Like the power is out, but even more quieter, if that makes any sense. A pack of wild burros came running out of nowhere. I didn't see them in the scattered trees and bushes, but they were there. 5 or 6 of them running completely silent all around my SUV and heading to the other side of the road behind me. It's still silent, and that's when I see it. This huge bear, the biggest bear I had ever seen, just about 50 feet from the boulders, it stood up on its back legs. Holy crap! It was at least 9 feet tall. It was sniffing the air and walking towards my car. I'm not moving. I'm trying not to breathe. I'm terrified. I'm watching this thing come forward, and that's when I see it. Antlers. This bear has a full rack of antlers. I'm looking through my sunroof at this thing, not even a foot away from my car, when it turned around and walked back into the trees and bushes on the hill. I seriously couldn't move for about another hour, and that was about how long it took for all the sounds to come back. I glanced over at the white car. The guy had his hand over the girl's mouth. They were both crying. I got out to check on them, and only then, when the breeze hit, did I notice that I had peed myself. I asked them if they were all right. The only thing he said was that wasn't a bear. He was correct, it wasn't a bear, and I wouldn't be parking in this area at night ever again. Today's second terrifying cryptid encounter brings us to New Jersey. I literally live on native burial ground. A lot of my town was built on Raritan Native American burial grounds, and even though I can't find any research on Raritan mythical beasts or anything like that, I'm aware that wendigos are native to the northeastern United States. Several of my close friends have had similar encounters with eerie, similar circumstances that leads us to believe that there is something going on. Needless to say, if we're going crazy, we're all going crazy together. Now, before I start telling the subsequent stories, I would like to add that I've done a little research already, and I heard that they may be able to contact you in your dreams. A little while ago, I had a nightmare where what I then believed may have been a Wendigo, but now I believe could possibly be a skinwalker, was behind me. I could feel an imposing, warm-breathing figure. I said to it, "I don't know what to do." It then responded, "You will know soon." I would like to add that this wasn't a lucid dream. I had no control over what I was saying. When it touched me, I jolted awake directly into a panic attack. I've had bad nightmares ever since I was a little kid with very similar outcomes, but this one felt different. Originally, I believed that it may have been some sort of sign for my brain to apply myself more, but now I think it's connected to this. I really hope I don't sound stupid, but I'm seriously freaking the fuck out over this. The first story happened to my friend. We're going to call her Allison for the sake of privacy. Her family owns 5 acres of property a few hours away from town. A few months ago, her and a few of her friends went there, and something started running and slamming itself into the side of the house. Snow was falling from the roof onto the ground below from the slamming. They looked through the window and saw a large figure running back into the woods. None of her family was up there to witness it, but there were 2 people who saw it happen other than Allison. As I'm writing this down, I just remembered another dream I had where I felt like I just woke up from sleeping. I walked up the stairs, my room's in the basement, and when I opened the door, I thought I had bumped my dog with it. Her food and water bowl is right next to the door, so I'm kind of used to it. As I turned to look at the front door, my dog was standing right in front of that. Realizing that what I had bumped wasn't my dog, I turned to discover a bipedal beast hidden in the shadows of the room, staring at me. I then woke up. Soon after the encounter with Allison, my friend Eric was sitting on top of a jungle gym in town at night. I believe he was with 7 other people. I can't fact-check it right now because Eric and I aren't talking for reasons I'll explain later on the timeline. And at least him and one other person saw a 9-foot figure with glowing eyes and antlers in the woods surrounding the park. He knew about Wendigos because of my obsession I grew after my first dream and ran as fast as he could. I thought he was fucking with me, and I told him that Wendigos don't actually have antlers, but he stood by what he had seen. I now believe this to have been a skinwalker messing with him by making him believe he had seen a Wendigo. Things died down for a few months. In this time, I completed that thing I had to apply myself for and heavily advertised it around the whole Wendigo motive. Ever since then, the air felt heavy, and I felt like I was being stalked from the woods. But it could have also been me spooking myself into thinking that, but still. One time, Allison was picking Eric and I up at my house. When I got into the car, she was clearly rattled. She told me that she had seen a large bipedal deer standing in the middle of the road next to the tree line off the side of the road on the way to my house. A quarter mile from the playground Eric and his friends had the encounter a few months prior. Now, I'm aware that normal people don't actually say large bipedal deer, but her dad is a hunter and probably has something to do with that. We had to pass the road again, and when we got there were 2 police cars examining the area with flashlights. As she was about to drop us off later that night, we passed another time, where we saw one of the police cars was still there, parked on the street with all the lights off. Allison and Eric were pretty shaken up, and I tried to best assure them that whatever we're dealing with, it couldn't have actually been a Wendigo. I wasn't entirely sure about that, but I am aware that no Native American depictions of them have antlers. 2 months passed, and the encounters started happening closer together, all within the last 2 weeks. Allison was riding her quad around with the same friends on her land a few hours away. They all felt a terrible feeling that something was watching them, only to hear something huge quickly moving in the woods around them. Whether it was a bear or whatever, it wasn't a good idea to stick around to find out. She said it was too fast to be a bear. She deals with them over there all of the time. Later at night, they were all sitting inside, and they kept hearing Allison's car open and shut. They were also too scared to check what it was, but she said nothing from her car was missing or out of place the next morning. This wasn't a huge event, but Eric, Allison, my girlfriend Becky, and I were sitting in Allison's car. Eric and I were sitting in the back seat. I noticed Eric was looking over his shoulder, confused. I turned as well and saw something drop on all fours and bolt into the woods about 30 feet away from us. I'd like to note that this was my first encounter with the creature outside of my dreams and it stalking me. This is when I first started speculating it to be a skinwalker. Remember when I said Eric and I weren't talking at the moment? For the last few nights this week, when he was lying in his bed, he'd hear someone knocking at his front door and back doors along with his windows. He noted that sometimes it sounded like his family trying to get into the house, only for him to go to their rooms and find them all asleep. Needless to say, he hasn't been getting much sleep lately, and he's freaking out like crazy, and he's been extra irritable with me lately, and I don't want to be around him. I talked to him once since then, but he hasn't added any new developments, which leads me to now. My friend Tom, Becky, and I were sitting on a small seawall next to the block from my house. Still within a mile vicinity of the playground, the side of the road where the spot we parked when Eric saw it. Becky and I saw something dashing across the tree line a little up the beach from where we were sitting. About 45 minutes later, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something creeping up the beach a little, hidden by a mound of sand that separates the seawall and the road where it stood. Once it noticed I saw it, it turned its body to profile and stood deathly still, probably not to look directly at us. I had a very unsettling feeling in my stomach as I inspected its grotesquely lanky body and eyeless face. I can distinctly say that what I was looking at was the same creature I saw the other day with Eric. I sat speechless for about 2 minutes before whispering over to Becky and Tom to turn and look as well. We stared at it motionless in the road for another minute before I said we should catch it on camera. I was about to start recording when Tom's flash alerted it and it sped off out of sight. We got back to my house half an hour later, and every few hours since then, there's been a loud banging on my front door and the windows, freaking my dog out along with Becky and myself. We seriously need to know what this thing is and how to stop it. Now, I'm aware skinwalkers aren't inherently evil, but just maybe playful or mischievous. But we all have bad feelings. If we're all going crazy, then we're all going crazy together. See what I mean? Today's third encounter is a Dogman encounter. In January of 2019, I noticed something lumbering down my driveway. The window I was looking out faces over and above the drive, if that's clear. For example, I can see the roof of your car, but not always the bottom of the tires. Regardless, I notice movement. I look out and see what I initially thought was a bear. Nose to the ground, kind of snuffling its head side to side, casually walking down the drive on all fours. A little geographic clarity. I live in town. The front of my neighborhood faces a major highway, but the back is all state game lands. I've seen some wildlife, turkey, a deer here and there, and every skunk in the county apparently lives on my street. But I don't see many squirrels, groundhogs, or chipmunks, which is a bit odd. I'm not very far from the city of Scranton, about 7 miles from downtown, so I'm not exactly in the sticks. I watched this bear mosey down towards the street, its head lowered. I moved from the living room window to my bedroom window. That has a full view of the street. Sure enough, here it comes. But something was wrong. I watched this beast stand on two legs and casually walk out into the road. I see pointed ears and a long snout. It's got its head raised, smell in the air. This is no bear. I saw it in perfect silhouette under the yellow streetlight. It's either a dark gray or black. The yellow light threw off its true color. It stood without effort. Looked like one fluid movement. It then walked across the road, casual as you please, and kind of hunkered down into some scrub brush. Then I realized it was looking right into my bedroom. It had blue eyes. I'm not sure if that was reflected light or they were glowing. It looked right at me. I lost my legs at that moment and sat down under my window, absolutely panicked. I was home alone with 5 cats and a dog who slept through the entire thing. I don't know what to do. My window is a big picture window, and if it wanted, it easily could have came through it and got me. I cautiously got to my knees and peeked over the sill, and I lost it. Didn't see eyes or anything anywhere. It seemed to have been moving away from the forest behind my house or decided to rest up in that scrub brush. What I saw under that streetlight is as follows. Darkish fur, high-pointed ears, long muzzle. I never saw teeth or a tail. It had hands with long claws that kind of hung limp at the wrist. If they were fully extended, they would hang below its knees. It walked on hawked dog legs. It looked heavily muscular, but very tapered at the waist. It was about 7.5 feet tall, judging from where it stood in relation to the streetlight. It wasn't aggressive, even when I felt it looking right at me. I was terrified, but I didn't get a sense that it was pissed off when I had seen it, as some people report. There have been some odd sounds tapping at my window. I can hear scratching on the siding. I don't see that many animals around the neighborhood. There used to be about 7 stray cats I fed, all gone. Once the weather broke, it's been quiet. I installed motion lights and bought 2 game cameras. I'm hoping that they are, in the sense, like a Sasquatch. They'll avoid game cams. I don't ever want to see this thing again. Those of you who want to see one, pray you never do. My encounter was non-aggressive. I can't imagine dealing with one pissed off. I still can't sleep a full night, and every sound scares the hell out of me after dark. I live alone, and the 357 I own would probably just ruffle its fur. Today's 4th and final terrifying cryptid encounter. First, I'd like to say I have no imagination at all. With that being said, the night before last, my girlfriend and I drove out to Salt Lake in California Valley off of 58. On our way back around 10 at night, on this long dark highway, we see this weird-looking creature in the road. I got a good look at it when we passed it. It was about the size of a full-grown deer. It had looked like it had been run over at its midsection. No cars had passed us for over 2 hours. But it was using its arms, looked like muscular human arms, to prop itself up. As we're coming up to it, it had looked at us. This thing had no ears or a snout. To be 100% honest, I don't know any wildlife or animals out here in Cali that doesn't have ears or snouts. It looked dark gray to me, but white to my girlfriend. But both of us, it kind of looked like a shine with my lights on it. But anyways, we passed it, and my girlfriend begged me not to turn around, and of course she caved when I said, "What if this is our chance at a sighting?" So I flipped around, less than 2 miles past the thing, backtracked about 10 miles, and there was nothing. Nothing there. No fresh blood, no blood trail, no fucking evidence that this thing was in the road. I turned back around to get us back to the right track, and still nothing. It was another 2 hours thinking about this thing and hoping it'd show itself again. We truly don't know what we saw, but we truly believe that what we saw was not a normal animal on that highway that night. We personally think it was a skinwalker. I don't know what we saw, but we know the image has been burned in our brains. Wow. 4 terrifying encounters. We start it with Callie and end it with Callie. Definitely creepy. The first encounter, I don't know if you guys remember the deer man of Alberta. That's what I think we're dealing with in California. Actually, I'm probably pretty positive that that's what it was. I mean, they do like to appear, make themselves noticed, and then quickly disappear. I don't know if it's like the fear factor for them to strike a little panic in the person that sees them. The second encounter, the one in Jersey, I'm again thinking deer man. The person who's having this encounter is definitely you're living on native burial grounds. There's something there. There's something magical about that, good or bad. I don't see it being a skinwalker or a Wendigo. I mean, with everything that I've read, and I'm sure a lot of you have read, there's no indication. So I'm thinking deer man. I don't know how close this place is to the Barrens, but possibly the Jersey Devil. More than likely not, though. The third Dogman encounter. Jesus, I love Dogman encounters. There is nothing better than a good Dogman encounter. Let me tell you something. My favorite cryptid. Definitely cool. And yeah, I agree. The 357's just gonna ruffle its fur. It's just gonna piss it off. Last encounter could possibly be a skinwalker. The shine, I think, was either the lights reflecting off of its body, maybe the darkness. I don't know if there was a full moon or a moon, but the tint. I'm not even going to say deer man. I'm honestly flat out saying it's more than likely a skinwalker, and I wouldn't have turned around to see that thing. I don't know what's going through your head, but you're a funny person. Wow. Who turns around to see a skinwalker? That's just fucking insane. Anyway, I really enjoyed these encounters. I've got a couple of subscriber encounters coming. I got some Bigfoot encounters from a subscriber. I got a possible chupacabra, and I have one badass Dogman encounter that I'm going to be sharing with you very soon, probably tomorrow. Also, a couple of subscribers sent me some very similar encounters. Not very similar, but pretty similar. So I'm going to do them together, like an entity encounter, paranormal. Definitely not cryptid, possibly cryptid, but I don't know. I don't think so. I think entity, which is just as freaking cool. I mean, you know, anything that's going to scare you is cool. I mean, except the freaking skinwalker. Fuck you, skinwalkers. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed these encounters as much as I enjoyed sharing them with you. And please stay tuned for after the upload for the Tactical Edge Arms Comrade mini commercial. Their link will be in the description below. Thank you guys, and farewell. So guys, I've always seen myself as an AR kind of guy. I'm not flashy, but I do like nice stuff, who doesn't? The other day, though, I stumbled across Tactical Edge and their version of the AK, the Comrade. Not your Russian granddad's AK. I saw this all black with gold action and charge handle and said, I love you. Whether on the range or laying a pimp slap to the Dogman with 7.62, you're doing it in style and supreme quality. Tactical Edge link is in the description below, and definitely check out their other awesome products.